Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the We Know Best podcast. I am
Da, da, da,
Zach.
da.
I am Zach, joined by my lovely co-host, Mr. Logan.
Co-host is a loose term.
Well, we're co-hosts,
We're co-talking.
co-talking hosts. That's what we're gonna go with. All right. Today we are going to be talking about quite a few topics. First one being the Thursday night game last night between the Jets and the Patriots, which hurts me. As you can see, I'm a Patriots fan. Not anymore after last night.
No.
We're going to go into how the Ravens and Lamar Jackson are absolute fucking frauds.
Is this gonna be one video?
Well, the podcast will be, yeah. And then I'm going to
Okay.
cut it up.
Okay.
We're going to go into Tua and the Dolphins. We're going to go into a little Dak Prescott praise session. We're going to go over the NFL power rankings 2 weeks in, or I guess technically at this point, like 2.25 weeks in. And we're going to walk through all of the NFL games this weekend and Monday night. Logan, I'll let you start off with what you thought of last night's piss poor performance from my New England Patriots.
I'll go out and say that was maybe one of the most boring games I've seen in a while.
Yep.
Except for like the Aaron Rodgers hype right back in, New York for the first time.
Rodgers looked great.
He does, like, from a athletic standpoint, and he also just throws, like, love him or hate him, he might throw the prettiest ball in the history of football. And I don't even know if that's a debate.
It's not.
And I'm not going to debate anyone on that, but anyways.
It's not. It's true.
Drake May got a little bit of run, but I mean, it seemed basically useless, just like the rest of the game. I mean, honestly, I felt like the biggest storyline was Braylon Allen. To be
That
honest,
dude's a dog. He's a dog.
I loved him coming out of college, but not that he is to the level of Derrick Henry, but coming out of college, I thought he had like the takes 15 seconds to get going Derrick Henry vibe, but once he does get going, he's hard to tackle. He showed some burst last night on a couple of outside runs. And not that I don't want to say it's a split backfield by any means, but like
It's like 70-30,
it was
75-25.
Brees Hall had 16 carries, Braylon Allen had 11. But Braylon Allen ran for 55 yards and Brees Hall ran for 54.
Like
So,
the thing
I
that
mean-
the thing that Brees has going for him is that he's a better pass catcher. That being said, they're skill wise, they're very similar.
I was going to say, and Braylon Allen, to be, well, I don't know how tall he is, but 245 or whatever it is, like, he's a decent pass catcher. He's not, useless out of the backfield. Obviously, that's not a strength. I mean, he had 3 catches last night. Now, obviously, Brees had 5. I think he had maybe 7 last week, too, or something. So, like, he's definitely the guy out of the backfield. But, I mean, that's definitely turning into a hell of a backfield for sure.
And Braylon Allen is a starting caliber running back on like over half the NFL teams.
Mm-hmm.
Put him on
Especially my Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
but
put him on the Cowboys. Put him on the Redskins. Even though I do like Brian Robinson Jr. You put him on half of these NFL teams, and he is far and away the starting running back. Probably seeing a 3-down workload because he's kind of shown he can handle it. I don't know if it was just me last night, but Brees looked a little gassed. Like every couple plays you saw him on the sideline, it looked like he was fighting for his life, trying to get some air.
I don't know. I mean, he looked. I don't want to say fine would be my word. Like, he didn't look like, and that was the thing about Brees Hall is he's a good running back coming off the ACL, but I mean, his stats were very much boosted by volume. So if you start getting this somewhat of a split backfield, like for fantasy purposes, it's going to take a hit to Brees for sure. But I mean, they're definitely both viable, and Brees is definitely I mean, the guy still. But, I mean, you're definitely seeing the volume starting to get split pretty, not 50-50, but it's getting there. I mean, that's going from
close.
Game 1 was Breece Hall, 100%. Braylon Allen didn't even know if he was there in the stadium, to 20-80 last week, and then this week was, like you said, 60-40 maybe. I mean, it's
now, was that because we are getting our ass beat? Maybe. I'm gonna say our offense, we have the second worst offense in the NFL, and it's not close. The Panthers still own that crown, because I don't think they put up more than 6 points this season. We at least put up 20 versus Seahawks. Like, we showed something.
That was week 1, right?
Week 2.
Week 2, okay.
Week 1, we beat the Bengals, and our offense honestly didn't look bad. And by bad, I mean we were actually creating progress going down the field. Week 2, our offense looked the best it's looked in probably 2 years. And then last night was just the New England Patriots I've come to expect over the past 4 seasons.
Yeah. And on the Patriots side, I mean, I would definitely say, like, at halftime, you're sitting at 14-3. So by no means are you, like, out of the game. Now with the Patriots offense, you might say they are. But, I mean, Ramondre had 6 carries last night, which is, like, if the Patriots have any chance of success, it's with Ramondre 22 carries for 100 and some yards. Like, so, I mean, that would be my question there. I mean, he ran for 3.8 a carry last night. Gibson ran for 5.8. So it wasn't like, I mean, the Jets defense is good, but there was some efficiency there, which, I mean, I don't.
Here's the thing with our backfield. Ramondre is great when people are blocking. Our O-line last night was so bad. In the first 2 drives alone, a blitzing Jets defender came through a gap without a finger laid on him, and Jacoby Brissett was running for his life. I remember 3 vivid times where I watched a Jets defender gallop and prance like he was in The Lion King, running through our offensive line hole. It was pathetic. And as much as I want Drake May to play, I don't think Brissett has played bad, but he's definitely missed some throws that he should have made. But if you put Drake May in here, I think he's going to die.
That's got to be why they're not playing him. Not that, I mean, he's obviously could use some growth too, but I mean, that's not a good situation to walk into.
No. We drafted a lot of offense in the draft, and we're not using it. Don't really know what's going on there. Drafted a receiver in the high second round in Jalen Polk, who looks great when he actually gets the ball, which is maybe 2 times a game. We haven't used Pop Douglas as much as we should. Our leading damn receivers, aging Hunter Henry. It's Austin Hooper broke one for like a 30-yard catch last night off a tight end screen. I didn't think he still had legs on him. It's sad that the best part of watching that game was just watching Aaron Rodgers torch my team to pieces. Was the most enjoyable part of that game.
Well, I mean, you just don't have the dudes on. Like, the defense might be good enough to hold up. That's another thing. Christian Gonzalez
stud.
And I told you coming out of the draft is a guy, and he got hurt last year, and you basically a wasted rookie year. But he traveled with Garrett Wilson all night, and I mean, by far held his own.
Our game plan is whoever your best receiver is, they're not going to catch but maybe 3 or 4 passes because we're just going to throw Christian Gonzalez on him, and he's going to take care of it. I mean, even the Wilson touchdown, I mean, Rodgers had to place that ball perfectly. Like, it was like a millimeter outside of Gonzalez's hands, and it was actually a very impressive catch by Wilson. Yeah. But like, even that little route was extremely covered.
I mean, he had 5 catches for 33 yards, his long of 9. Like, he was not getting anything.
And as long as 9 was the screen in the red zone, I'm pretty certain.
Right. So, I mean, that's a guy on defense. Now, I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, you need O-line. You need weapons. I mean, they paid Ramondre. How good Ramondre is, like, I don't know if he's an X factor game changer.
He's overpaid.
But you got to pay somebody, I guess. But, I mean, going back to the Jets defense, like, I will say, like, a big question for them was how are they going to generate pressure losing Bryce Huff last year to Philly and then Hassan Reddick deciding that he's ready for retirement or whatever's going on. They drafted Will McDonald, a edge rusher out of Iowa State. His rookie year was last year. Played minimally. And he's had a coming out party the last 2 weeks. He had 3 sacks last week against Will Levis, 2 last night. I mean, that's a guy. And, I mean, that's a guy I know. I'm a Cowboys fan, sadly, very sad about it. But that's a guy Dallas wanted to take in that draft in the mid-20s. And I was surprised when the Jets took him in, like, the mid-teens. But, like, I mean, right now that's looking like a home run pick just based off the last 2 games.
He looked good last night. He was one of those blitzers that came in completely unblocked, and Brissett turned around, and there was a Will McDonald in his face, and he couldn't do anything. So it was rough. I'm painting my room, but we're gonna move on. This is.
I mean, that's all you can say about that game. Like, I mean, the main theme is Aaron Rodgers, and I mean. Do you think the Jets are an actual contender
to win a Super Bowl this year?
I mean, I want to say that's unrealistic, but
no, I don't think they are. I think
could they win that division?
Ooh, yes, but it'll be tough. The Dolphins without Tua, which we'll get into in a second, plummet down the rankings without a quarterback.
And even if he comes back, I mean,
they're going to be in a bad situation.
That's
the Bills are the Bills. They're always good now. Josh Allen, second best quarterback in all of football. Doesn't even have to throw the ball anymore because he just hand the ball to James Cook and he just scores you 3 touchdowns. Great defense. We've taken the early to late 2000s Bills Dolphins role of just being the laughing stock of the division after 20 years of dominance. So,
which that's how that works. I mean,
it does.
You can't dominate forever.
All I'm saying, we didn't go to 4 straight Super Bowls and lose all 4 like the Bills did. Just saying.
No, you just won them all.
Went to 9, won 6. Pretty good. Can't complain. Well, I can now because we suck, but
I can complain.
Consensus, Jets good. New England really bad. Let's move on. Logan. This is your requested topic of the week. Can you explain your issues with the 2024 Dallas Cowboys and maybe the Cowboys of the last 25 years?
That's where we're getting into. Because as someone born in 2000, there's only been a couple of Cowboys seasons I have been able to enjoy. Now, I know everyone's clowning. You're a bandwagon. The Cowboys suck. And y'all throw parties at our pity and pain, which is fine. Go for it. But there's a lot of talk and narrative about Dallas that is just flat out blatantly wrong. So let's start at the top with the big man, the owner, Jerry Jones. So I know everyone likes to say Jerry Jones is the GM and making the decisions for Dallas. And while he makes some stupid decisions, it's not like he is the actual GM. In Dallas, you basically have Jerry Jones, his son Stephen Jones, and he's not the GM. I don't know what he is. The head of player personnel or whatever.
Whatever they
Mr.
do.
McClay. Yeah. McClay, which he's the guy that, I'm getting thumped. I like to say. We've got a 7-month-old pup here that gets pretty hype sometimes. We'll say that. But he's the guy that's doing all the head of the scouting, directing, the guy that's making making a lot of the draft pick choices. But at the end of the day, especially with first-round picks, Jerry is hearing what Will McClay has to say, what Stephen Jones has to say, and he is the deciding factor on that one, basically. So, obviously, that's not an ideal setup for an NFL management, right? You go to anywhere else, right, and the GM, if he has a couple bad seasons, his ass is out of town, the head coach is gone, there is pressure for the team to spend money and produce in a rather quick manner that just isn't there for Dallas. Obviously, I'm not going to come out and say like Jerry Jones doesn't want to win, because obviously he does, but the only deadline is on his life. But I do believe that's his end goal. Now, does he have like the self-awareness to realize like that he's probably the issue? I don't think he does. And that's a whole Dallas Cowboys philosophical problem, right? So everyone, the whole talk this offseason has been Dallas neglecting free agency, which is nothing new by any means.
Literally signed not a soul, not one person.
And, now 12 dudes walk out the door, right? Now, Stephon Gilmore is probably your biggest loss. Not that I'm saying you should have brought him back, but like looking at it now,
a 1-year deal.
Like this thing with Bland hurt,
Diggs coming back from injury.
Diggs coming back, it makes sense. The other players are guys that maybe are good depth pieces, but individually themselves are not massive losses, right? But when you do nothing else in free agency, there is nothing coming in the door, right? That is putting a lot of pressure on rookies, second-year players that Jerry likes to say it's their time to step up and produce. And no other organization is just going to expect and rely on rookies and second-year players to produce at a See, she's pissed. She's hearing about this.
She's with you.
She is. She's heard me yell and scream at the door. So that's one philosophical problem. Going back over the last 15 years, maybe Dallas has had zero value in the defensive tackle position. They've spent 5th to 7th round picks on it. They signed 37-year-old free agents off the couch, which that is their defensive tackle room now. Obviously, they saw the writing on the wall that obviously the past few years their weakness is stopping the run. They spend a 1st-round pick on a defensive tackle that it's like they go from one side to the other, right? We're going to just throw out undrafted free agents to play defensive tackle, to we're going to take a solely run-stuffing defensive tackle in the 1st round, right? Like, swinging that far isn't necessary.
No.
You see most of the picks in the 1st round are going to be offensive tackles, quarterbacks, wide receivers,
edge rushers,
corners, edge rushers. Like those are your money 5 positions, right? Now, when you get the supreme talents like a Jalen Carter, that's just a massive force in the middle. Like, yeah, those guys will go in the 1st. Bijan, they'll go in the 1st. But for the most part, the value is in those big time positions. That's not a big time position, but he's big time. And then now we're going back to the running back. Zach, as you well know, I am the biggest believer that running backs do not matter, right? The best running back, Christian McCaffrey.
I'm in the opposite boat to that. I think they matter more than anyone is willing to give them credit for.
And the prime example, though, is Christian McCaffrey. He is the best running back in the league, hands down, like not a debate. He's out, and what happens? Jordan Mason, I don't know if he was drafted or not, but the Niners do it every other year, some practice squad player comes up, runs for $120,
Mason.
2 touchdowns. I mean, and obviously I'd love to have Christian McCaffrey, but you can get a guy that does 80% of what he does for 75 cents a game, and you can be competent. The one caveat, obviously, is you have to have some sort of offensive scheme that puts these running backs in positions to be able to make plays.
Clint Kubiak.
And that's the prime example, right? The Saints just torched Dallas on a lot of outside runs because Dallas can't stop the run. I mean, Dallas has defensive tackles that are getting pushed 10 yards back, getting buried in the ground, and Kamara is 15 yards down the field, running Scott ass free. He's not even tackled if it's two-hand touch. So, I mean, and obviously that's the whole Shanahan tree. And this is an area that, like, Jerry Jones will never do. He is going to hire the old guy, because whether it's for whatever reason, I believe it's so he can sell. He thinks it's easy to sell to the fan base. Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl. We can do it now because we have him. The offense Dallas is running is ancient as all get out. It is West Coast, but West Coast from back in the day. There's minimal motion.
2010 West Coast.
Everyone's talking about the Niners, the Dolphins, the motion that helps the offense. You notice the theme, all the good offense are going to be high in motion rates. Dallas doesn't have it. And then the second part of that is Dallas, the past couple years, have had the offensive dudes to just say, hey, we're just going to out-dude you. We don't need a scheme that's going to put our players in, advantageous situations. We've got CeeDee Lamb. We've got all these guys that will just go make plays. And that's great until you run up to a team that has just as good dudes and has actual schemes to help them, which is my belief why they cannot get over the hump against good teams, because you can't stop the run. There's zero schematic advantage, especially in these playoff games when you're going against the geniuses of the NFL.
And I want to be clear here. Dak Prescott is not the fucking problem, and we'll get into that later.
Yes. When your defense gives up 40 points a game, give me a quarterback that has a winning record when that happens. That's just the way it is.
You guys are always so good during the regular season, always. And then you get to the playoffs, and I've always said this about teams like the Ravens, which we'll get to in a second as well. There are these teams that are so good in the regular season, they get into the playoffs and do nothing. It's like everything that they just did in the regular season, they just completely forget how to do it. That or the other opposing team just all of a sudden wants to stop it like they didn't in the regular season. The Cowboys are prime examples. The Ravens are prime examples. The Dolphins are prime examples. Like, all these teams are incredible in the regular season and then just do nothing. Like, they just completely shit the bed when they get to the playoffs. Like Dallas last year. Sorry to cut you off. Like, Dallas last year played the Packers, I believe, in the first round. And I went into that game thinking it'd be close, but I thought Dallas would pull it out. And I'm just watching this game, and every time Jordan Love threw one of his iffy spiral passes, like he does very often, because I'm not a huge Jordan Love guy, he would throw the ball. I'd be like, oh, he's taking a shot downfield. The dude catches it. There's not a Cowboy within the line of sight within like 20 yards. He's just wide open. Like, dude was frolicking through a prairie. Not one danger in sight. And I don't understand how that happened. It happened multiple times. Every Packers receiver is just wide open. I don't. These teams get to the playoffs and just shit the bed. I don't understand how you're so good in the regular season. You get to the playoffs and then you just fall flat on your face.
And Dallas is like the extreme of the extreme. But I will say, like, every year, like these teams that fall flat, there are signs throughout the year that these teams are not a complete football team. Like when you think about like the Chiefs can come out and beat you 40-37, or they can kick your ass in a mud fight 13-10.
Yeah.
Like they're so good. They can play it both ways. They can sling the ball around the yard, or they can run it. They can stop the pass, stop the run. You know, the teams like the Dolphins and Dallas, Dallas can only, you know, last year their formula for winning was we're going to get up early, and then Micah is going to be coming off the edge, and we're going to get the pass rush going, and that's how these leads build, and that's why they're winning by massive margins. But if you get Dallas last year specifically in, you know, I mean, a gut fight like that, that team personnel wise and schematically isn't built to play that game. Same with the Dolphins, right? Like they have their, you know, the Bills are the prime example. They come out, it's cold. Buffalo just commits to grounding and pounding all day. And I mean, Miami, well, as good as A-Chain is, I mean, they, from a just physicality standpoint, they're not matching those teams.
I mean, especially now without a potential quarterback, like they're kind of fucked.
Yeah,
I don't even know if they make the playoffs now. They probably will. Well, actually, I don't know. I take that back because the Jets look pretty good, and the Bills are the Bills, and we're terrible.
They're 1-1, and their next 4 games are at Seattle, Tennessee, at New England, and at Indianapolis,
which are 3 hard defenses, and then the Colts defense, which is you have to catch them. It's like a 50-50 shot whether they play lockdown or they play just awful.
Yeah, and then 3 of those 4 are on the road. Then you're talking about, I mean, and then if Tua comes back, you get the Cardinals, who are playing good football. You get to go to Buffalo. You go to LA to play the Rams. Yeah.
The Rams, by that point, will have Puka back. They'll have Cooper Kupp back. Maybe one of their 18-0 linemen that are hurt. Maybe 2 or 3 of them come back.
I mean, like, they definitely need to go 500 through those 6 or so games
to even have a chance.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, it could get to a point if Tua's not coming back, like right when he's off IR, like there's a chance they're out of it before
he even comes back.
And there's really like, yeah, you know, you might just tell Tua to call it a wrap this year and just come back next year and try again.
Or retire, like I think he should. Transition to the Dolphins. He needs to retire. That dude.
I think we're on opposite sides on this one.
This dude's brain is got to be the equivalent to that of spaghetti. I mean, every time he has a concussion, he's on the ground doing one of these, looking like a little T-Rex.
You can't do that. You can't.
Yes, I can. I beg to differ. But if he has had 4 concussions in his college and NFL career, all 4 of them have been in the NFL. All 4 of them have looked bad. Looked terrible. Like you see some
the one the Dolphins swept under the rug, even though the entire world knew he had one. So add that to the list.
Like at this point, it's I've never been a big Tua fan anyway. But this is right now I don't care about that. I think he needs to retire. Because I think if he gets 1 or 2 more, he's gonna have like some severe brain issues if he doesn't already. Because we only see when he's on TV throwing footballs, or if he's maybe doing like a small post-game interview or something. We don't know what he's like outside of those situations. Maybe he can pull it together for a good 5-10 minute interview or something. But I'm worried that his brain is fried. I don't think he should come back. I think the Dolphins should move on.
think it's a twofold question, right? So like I think everyone on the planet can agree that for his health and medical safety, he should walk away. I will say though, you could say that about everyone that plays professional football. Like this is not some non-contact ballerina sport. I mean, as much as
No,
we want to pretend it's safer than it used to be.
but I I disagree with that for the sole reason is that it's your brain. Like you see, like J.K. Dobbins, prime example. Dude's injury list looks like a damn CVS receipt, right? But all of those things that he has torn or mainly torn, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a single healthy ligament left in his legs. But that stuff, it might affect you when you're older, and it definitely, affects him a little bit now. He's not as explosive or whatnot as he used to be. But those things heal and don't have like probably a huge impact on your day-to-day life once fully healed. Your brain doesn't heal. Like if your brain is scrambled like ABs after all those concussions, whatnot, you're stuck with that. That doesn't change. If you tear Achilles, tear an ACL, it'll heal right back up. Will you be the exact same player you used to be? No, but you can still play and function at like a regular level.
My point though is we all see the running back that gets a toss and just gets absolutely cracked, right? And we're like, oh my God, he's dead.
He's
but
dead.
He gets up and goes back to the huddle, and we're all like, he's fine, right? And in reality, I mean, he might not get diagnosed with a concussion, but he just took a freight train to the head. You cannot convince me that there's not some type of brain damage that is occurring on every single play for everybody. Now, obviously, at lesser severities, but I mean, everyone is taking that risk. Now, obviously, after you have 4 or 5 massively severe ones, it's a different level. I'll go on to say that a lot of these footballers, they're footballers. Like, I mean, I don't know, like, a lot of these guys are coming from poor situations. They got it out the mud, and they play football, and that is what they do. And I'm not – everyone's saying that he should just retire and acting like it's just this easy decision. Like, this is what these dudes do and have done their entire life. And, I mean, just giving that up after you make it to, the dream isn't going to be easy. And I think they've said, like,
it's a tough decision.
Right. Like, I think they've said, like, he wants to come back, but they still have to consult with the doctors or whatever. Like, I mean, I think I can tell you what the doctors are going to say is that there's a chance for long-term severe brain damage. Like, I think so. At the end of the day, it's kind of up to him. I will say, I think about it kind of from a flip side. I don't know if the NFL wants him going back out there to play football. I mean, from a, like, talk about, like, bad publicity, like, how this could end up going. Like, I mean, I know they've been sued in the past, all that crap. Like, this just seems like it has disaster written all over it from a PR perspective. And I do know, like, within to his contract, right? Like, however much is guaranteed, it's quarterback, massive percentage of his contract is fully guaranteed. If he is forced to medically retire, he gets all that money.
At least, like, most of it.
No, you get the full. He will get the full guaranteed money if he's forced to medically retire.
Oh, I did not know that.
If he chooses to retire due to the concussions, but isn't forced to medically by a doctor, then he forfeits all that. So I'm sure you're talking about the Dolphins. If he is retiring, want it to be medically. I mean, it's an interesting situation there that, if we're being honest, the Dolphins have already royally fucked. going back to his beginning concussions. So, I mean, fucking dog. But it seems like a disaster waiting to happen.
I think he's done. I think his brain is going to be the right side of cooked if he continues playing. Even if he comes back, I almost think if you're the Dolphins, you don't hate drafting a quarterback in this draft just as a safety precaution. If he does come back and he's like okay for another year, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for them to draft a backup quarterback like later on. I don't know what quarterbacks would fall into the range where they could even get one. Shador's going to go high. Quinn Ewers is going to go high. Carson Beck will probably go pretty high. But maybe one of Logan's favorites, Jackson Dart, might fall. Maybe Cam Ward, who could take a little 10-minute drive from the University of Miami right into the Miami Dolphins Stadium. It's potential there. Just as a backup plan. Worst case scenario, all you do is you sit your rookie quarterback for a year with two under the center, who probably won't be able to teach him anything because he's going to be brain dead. But he'll at least sit for a year and learn something. So when he comes in, he'll be good. I don't hate that idea for the Dolphins.
I was going to say, you absolutely have to have a plan B, because if he does come back, he has given you no proof that he knows how to protect himself. I mean, I know they said he took jujitsu or whatever.
He should take more.
That worked for a couple weeks, and I get he's trying to set the tone in the Bills game. They're not playing well. He's trying to fire the guys up and run over a middle line, or not, I guess, not a middle linebacker, a safety.
DeMar Hamlin.
But, yeah, and he's trying to set a tone.
Ironic.
But it's just, I mean, he's at a point where he definitely cannot do that anymore, which I feel like is hard to tell a football player you can play, but you can't lower your shoulder from time to time.
If he doesn't come back wearing one of the new Guardian caps, he's just asking for it.
And I don't know how much those do.
I don't either.
To be honest. But it's worth a shot.
Jabril Peppers on New England has been rocking one. I saw a Browns offensive lineman do that, which is odd because they probably have the least head-to-head contact in all the NFL.
I think studies disagree with you.
Well, but I don't follow
their
those
contact
studies.
Their contact is like less violent, but it's on like every play basis. They're putting their head in a line of fire of some sort.
I mean, you're having people run at you, but you're not the receiver catching a ball, turns around, and then just gets fucking lit up by a corner or a safety or a linebacker, just waiting, praying that you attempt to catch that ball before they basically kill you. All right, now we're going to get into the Ravens. This is my topic of the week, how I think Lamar and the Ravens are absolute frauds. Logan had his Cowboys rant. I hate the Ravens as is, but watching them play football just pisses me off to levels I didn't know existed. Starting with Lamar. I'm going to get so much hate for this. Lamar Jackson is the most overrated fucking quarterback in the NFL, and it's not close. He can't throw the damn ball, and what he does, it's a Zay Flowers check down screen, which he's going to do 10 times a game because that's all the targets Zay Flowers gets. Exactly. If you watch a Ravens game, their offense is this. Lamar Jackson, ballerina twirl, sprint 20 yards forward. Zay Flowers design screen, or in game one, Isaiah Likely check down. That's their whole off. Actually, no, I take that back. It's run the ball on first down with Derrick Henry. Forget Derrick Henry exists. Put in Justice Hill to do the exact same thing that Derrick Henry could do. And they just lost to the Oakland fucking Raiders. The Oakland
That would be the
Raiders.
Las Vegas Raiders.
The Ravens are so bad they actually lost to the Oakland Raiders. They went back in time and lost that game.
That's pretty impressive.
Lamar Jackson has never been a good thrower of the football. I remember thinking Lamar was a stud at Louisville in college when me and Logan used to watch some of those games. I like Lamar a lot. He got to the NFL. I thought he'd be pretty good. For the first year or two, he was running the ball like everyone thought. The whole reason you draft Lamar Jackson is for your rushing upside, which he has a fuck ton of. That's all he does, actually. The problem is, that's all he does now. He had the 1 year where he showed he could be a good passer, and we haven't seen it again. He didn't deserve MVP last year. I don't remember who else was in the conversation, but it should have been any one of those other. Yeah, Dak actually should have won it. Dude balled out. Apparently throws too many picks, but I saw a stat where it's like out of all the NFL quarterbacks, he has the lowest interception rate out of all of them. So fuck the Dak haters. But Lamar Jackson is not a good quarterback. Draft another one, cut Derrick Henry, throw him in a running back. Do something. Because I don't like the Ravens as is, but watching Lamar Jackson snap the ball, he's so antsy to run. Even if he has good protection, he's so antsy to run that he will not let plays develop if they take time to develop. I get it. Sometimes he hikes the ball. His O-line is not that good, and he just gets swarmed, and that's when you should run the football. But there's some quarterbacks like prime Cam Newton, Michael Vick, who would always still look to find a receiver before running the football. Andrew Luck, another prime example. He wasn't the most athletic dude, but he had some wheels on him. He could run if he needed to. RG3 is the same way. All these running quarterbacks, and Josh Allen especially, will always look to throw the football before he takes off running. If there's nothing there, then he'll lower his shoulder and lay somebody out. But this Ravens offense is pathetic. I like watching New England offense more than I like watching the Ravens offense, and that says something because we are terrible. I don't want to watch the same... Shut the fuck up. I don't want to watch the same 4 plays be called for an entire 3-hour-long football game and for you to lose to one of the worst teams in the NFL in the Las Vegas Raiders. It's sad. It's pathetic, honestly. I think Lamar is... I'm going to get probably so much hate for this. I don't even know if he deserves to be in the top 10 quarterback conversations. Some people are going to take that as a joke. I'm dead serious. And if he's in the top 10, he's closer to 10 than he is 5. Logan, what are your thoughts on that?
You just said a lot.
I did.
I'll start with a straight Lamar take before I get into the actual Ravens. I'm definitely higher on Lamar than you are.
I'm sure 99% of the planet.
Yeah.
Agrees
you kind of
with
said
you.
That they drafted him because of the running, right? And he's lived up to that. I think you might would wanted the downfield passing to have developed a little better, which it hasn't. And I mean, you hit a lot of nails on the head with the ability to create it for him is unlike anyone else. And it's like a blessing and a curse for him. It's like, because of that, everything is so hard because he won't just sit in the pocket and hit the slant on the second read, it's just, which leads to all these flashy plays, but it's just
flashy plays don't win football games.
Yeah. And especially against these good teams, it's just, you can't live solely by that, right? Like, it's too tough of a way to go. I will say, I mean, going more back to last year, like they're a Zay Flowers red zone fumble away from going to the Super Bowl. So like maybe if Zay Flowers doesn't do that, this conversation in a realm is probably completely different for the fact that people put so much credit if a quarterback goes to a Super Bowl, and especially if they win a Super Bowl, they're the greatest thing on the planet of the earth. There's actually no one else on the team. It's a 1v1 between quarterbacks in football. So it's actually not team sport apparently. So, I mean, but
Tom Brady gets all the credit, and he deserves it. Damn it.
There was some pretty good defense, but anyway,
there were.
I think. I mean, I don't want to say the offense isn't designed in his best interest because obviously he gets to run around a lot. But if the O-line play isn't competent, but like if they could play with a little more creativity between Lamar and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers, like I'm not sure that they would really need to throw the ball down the field very much at all. The read option between those two, Zay Flower, like you really saw it with Jalen Hurts his first big year where they just RPO'd teams to death. I mean, and that can be good enough. But obviously that's a rather simple offense that has some structure to it, which with Lamar's craziness, they haven't really stayed in a lot of structure. But I still definitely believe a top 5 quarterback. And we'll get into this with Dak, but the narrative that these quarterbacks can't win in the playoffs is really flawed because besides Mahomes, no one has really won in the playoffs at a consistent rate. And
Josh
it's like
Allen
no one
has, but they've never made it to the Super Bowl.
Burrow made it to a Super Bowl, but I don't think anyone's trying to really. Okay, maybe some Lamar fans want to say Lamar is better than Burrow, but like no one, don't think is trying. No one's trying to say Dak is better than Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Burrow. Although Burrow hasn't looked great the past 2 years, but I won't bring that up.
I think he's looked fine this season, honestly. I think he's made a lot of the right decisions. I think the Bengals need a new fucking offensive coordinator.
I agree with you, but fine doesn't get you top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
No, I don't think he is. I think he's top 5, but that's besides the point.
That's what I'm trying to say is like you're comparing Lamar to like, I don't know, Dak, Stafford, like this tier of guys, like they're all relatively in the same tier. Like I'm definitely not going to fight you on saying Lamar is better than Dak. Like I think maybe I disagree, but like neither of them have done it in the playoffs. Both have had a lot of success in the regular season. But at some point for like these quarterbacks to actually get thrusted into like next tier conversations, it has to happen in the playoffs. And that's just the way it is with quarterbacks. I didn't make that rule. So even though as much as I want to say like with Dak, like the supporting cast, everyone wants to hype up the supporting cast because there's some superstars. The defense has been asked when Dak is in the playoffs. So,
and even their offense hasn't been great.
No,
but the thing that really takes a dive on the Ravens in the playoffs is their offense. Their defense always plays pretty good. The Ravens are always known to have a pretty good defense. I don't think they've had a bad defense in about 25 years. Mm-hmm. The problem is last year, I have some friends that are Ravens fans. They said Greg Roman was the problem and Lamar made the best of the situation. Well, all of a sudden, Greg Roman leaves and becomes the Chargers offensive coordinator. Chargers look phenomenal. They probably pass the ball a little more given Justin Herbert's your quarterback. Yeah. But you hire this new offensive coordinator, nothing changes. The offense looks the exact same as it did before. Is it because Lamar doesn't have like a superstar receiver? Maybe. You can't tell me that the Ravens, with the players they have, can't come up with a good offensive scheme. I refuse to believe that. Look at the fucking Saints. dropping 44 points, and their best player debatably best player in Chris Olave barely even gets used. You have Rashid Shaheed, who is not a bad NFL receiver by any means, but he has one trick, and it is run straight, outrun everybody, pray to God Derek Carr can get him the ball. Or what they do is here you go, Alvin Kamara, you go run for 4 touchdowns. You have fun. You can't tell me when you have Lamar and Derrick Henry and Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, who they decided not to use after literally saving basically their entire offense game 1. You cannot tell me that most of this is not Lamar Jackson's fault. You can't convince me.
I don't want to say it's his fault, but from the personnel standpoint, like you're saying, like with his traits and speed, like you're going to be out of the gun so you can run the read option. Like that's the big threat. And then once you go under center, our teams, you're not a good enough running team from under center because you never do it, first off.
And when you do it,
know what's coming.
And when you do it, you have Derrick Henry in, who you damn well know is not going to catch a pass. Dallas does this thing where they have the occasional week where they don't look like the Cowboys. I think in week 2, that was their 2 to 3 times a year Dallas just shits the bed game. Not discrediting the Saints at all, because they look phenomenal through the first 2 games. But out of nowhere, no one saw this coming. But we'll
get to the game later.
Yeah, it's hard because I used to like Lamar so much. That one year when he won his first MVP, I think, when he was throwing the ball, he was throwing like 4 or 5 touchdowns a game. Dude was pinpoint, laser accurate, looked great. That's completely gone. And I think he has a better receiving core now than he did then. I don't understand where it went. He showed it to us once, and then ever since then, every time he throws a football that's not a screen, I think it's probably going to be a pick. Or he's going to make excuses on why he missed the throws instead of just saying, yeah, you know what, I missed that throw. I was actually throwing it to this dude over here who was double covered, but I missed him so bad that Zay Flowers actually had a chance to catch that ball. But even then, I still underthrew him by 5 yards. It was like he was bowling or kicking a field goal. He threw it right between both of the players that had a potential chance on that ball, and it wasn't close to either one of them. I don't. Lamar's a fraud. The Ravens are frauds. Jim Harbaugh is a fraud. His brother
might be a conversation. I think that is
his brother's better.
Larger than the Lamar fraud question is the Harbaugh question.
His brother's better.
At least with a quarterback like Lamar. And I know he's not like the offensive guru, but if you had an offensive guru with the athleticism Lamar has, you could absolutely construct an offense that could win against anybody. But that's what we're waiting on. And that's what I think it's coming down to more of as an issue with coaching and play design than it is Lamar problem.
So, we agree to disagree on that. We both think the Ravens are frauds, but I think Lamar is the bigger problem. And I don't think people want to admit that just because of he's a quarterback and people love him because of his rushing ability. So,
all right, Zach. Next, there's a dog treat. If your power rankings of the NFL teams top 5 are great, you'll get a dog treat.
This doesn't entice me at all.
It should.
Patriots, anyway, Ravens, Bengals. Oh, no, kidding. Okay.
Who is the #1 team in the NFL?
This is going to shock a lot of people. I have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
I know. Shocker. Best quarterback in the league, best head coach in the league. Has proven time and time again that they will win basically any football game that they play. Even last year when the Chiefs did not look like the Chiefs, they still ended up winning the fucking Super Bowl. Even with Isaiah Pacheco broken fibula still left at Arrowhead, I still think that they're the best team in the NFL. I will say the gap is closing in. For years, they were the #1 team, and no one was even close. I think there are some teams getting close to that level. Logan, who do you have at #2?
Being I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, kidding, but because I'm a Cowboys fan, I have PTSD from the San Francisco 49ers. They are as banged up as any team in the league right now. Maybe besides the Rams, but I mean, all of the Niners injuries should be back relatively soon, maybe besides McCaffrey. Who knows what's going on there? But the Niners have showed us that they don't need McCaffrey. And that's just that. And there's no better coach than maybe besides Andy Reid, who is with the #1 team, than Kyle Shanahan. So,
yep,
I got to go to the
Niners. My #2 team, I have the Houston Texans, who look phenomenal. CJ Stroud is, not to hate on Lamar again, but way better than Lamar Jackson. CJ Stroud is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Some people might say it's too early. I watched this man play quarterback, and every time he throws the ball, I think it's going to result in a damn touchdown. Not only that, they have Nico Collins, who has, in the past 2 years, skyrocketed from who to that dude's a top 10 wide receiver in the league, and it's not even an argument. You brought in Stephon Diggs from the Bills, who, yeah, he might be old and he might be kind of washed, but when you're debatable, if that's your debatable third best option on that offense, it's him or Tank Dell any given week. I think they're, at this point, both the same caliber of player. They do different things well, but in terms of overall, I think they're probably the same caliber of wide receiver. Then you have Joe Mixon. You have Dalton Schultz. Your O-line's pretty good. Your offense is set. And then on top of that, the worst part of your team being your defense looks really damn good. So I think they are a Super Bowl contender. I still think the Chiefs probably win that over the Texans and even the Bills. But I think the Texans are the second best team in football right now.
Thing that's concerning me about the Texans is you beat an average Colts team, I'd say, by 2.
Above average.
Slightly. And you beat a very much average Bears team by, 6? And I do absolutely agree that they have all the pieces to the puzzle, but I think maybe it's just going to take some time for it to fully click. I will say...
Go ahead.
I think the most impressive thing they did is they came out against the Colts with Joe Mixon, and he ran for 200 yards. And if they're going to be able to, obviously he's not going to do that every game, but if they're going to be able to run the ball effectively with Stroud, Nico, Diggs, Tank Dell, that is going to be an offense that's going to be unstoppable.
Yep. Easily. Who do you have at 3?
Oh, you're right. I went first. Yeah. So 3, I have the Bills. Reason being, Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's a pretty good reason.
Josh Allen.
Josh, yeah. Okay.
And I think the Bills have, kind of like we talked about with Lamar and Dak and these other quarterbacks, is the Bills have done a great job to alleviate some of the pressure off of Josh Allen and making him not have to make these superhero plays constantly to where he can be the best version of himself. And when, I mean, the running game's looking good right now. I will say I think it's slightly worrisome that I think they're like the oldest team in the league, and you wonder about how long, it is only good. They've only played 2 games. Can they, put together a full season, especially along the offensive and defensive line? The defensive line isn't great.
No.
That would be my big concern. But I mean, right now, as you can see with the top 3, Mahomes, okay, maybe not Purdy, but Stroud, freaking Josh Allen, like, you pretty much roll with the elite quarterbacks, and the rest is history. Take your chances.
Yeah. Shocker. I also have the Bills at 3. I thought we were going to see a Bills regression year, given that they lost Diggs, and you're looking at the receiving core of a rookie Keon Coleman, a Khalil Shakir, who I didn't know existed until preseason this year, or before the NFL season, not actual preseason. Obviously, they have Dalton Kincaid. They have James Cook, who's really taken steps. His rookie year, he looked bad. He looked rough. Last year, he looked pretty solid. He kind of developed into his own. And this year, he looks like one of the best running backs in the NFL. So he's developed well. I came into this year thinking, how is their offense going to look like? Because they have no one to throw the damn ball to. Apparently, it doesn't matter, because they're just going to run the ball, and when they need to throw the ball, it's going to be open because they can give the ball to James Cook. They can give the ball to Ray Davis if they need to, who's nothing special, but, still another body you can throw out there. And also, you have Josh Allen, who will just scramble. So, yeah, easy Bills at 3 for me. At 4, I have the New Orleans Saints. Now, I want to preface this by saying, will they be here in the top 5 for the remainder of the season? Probably fucking not. But for the first 2 weeks, you could argue they look like the best team in football. The reason they're at 4 is because we have not seen this from the Saints since a prime Drew Brees. I don't think they have the talent to sustain putting up 44 points a game on good teams. Dallas is a really good team. I forgot who the Panthers are dog shit, but I don't see them putting up 40 points a game consistently this season. I see them coming back down to earth and maybe having some 17 games, some 24 games, maybe a low 30 here and there. This high 40 scoring stuff is going to end. But for the first 2 weeks, you can't argue that they've basically looked like the best team in football. Logan, who do you have it for? Or what do you think about that?
I have the Texans, and for all the reasons we said earlier, the talent's there. I just haven't seen them really put it fully together yet, but it definitely can be done. And
yeah,
now my 5th team is the Saints, and it's the same kind of an opposite case scenario where they've put it together, but I'm not sure, like you said, the talent is there. Derek Carr has been an absolute pumpkin for 12 years.
But he's been a cone.
Yeah. I don't buy that he's all of a sudden this top tier quarterback, except for the fact maybe the system is just that damn good that it's put him in a situation to do this. I will say the deep ball he hit to Shaheed against Dallas right down the middle of the field.
Both weeks.
Yeah. Well, that was the best throw of his entire career. I mean, throwing it 50 yards down the field against cover two high safeties isn't supposed to happen. That's like supposed to not happen.
And when you're about to get rocked
in the bucket. So while I don't think it's like, I could easily see the Saints falling out of a top 10. But I mean, if they can continue, not even to continue to play the way they have, but to resemble any type of, this offensive production, like, I mean, they're going to be the top 5 team for the rest of the year.
They look incredible.
I mean, against Dallas, I think Carr started the game and had completed like 3 passes for 140 yards and 2 touchdowns. It was like being a new system, obviously, I think their film's going to get out. Defensive coordinators are going to at least realize kind of somewhat what they're doing to at least limit this. They're not going to average 40 points all year.
No.
But if they average 28, that's still pretty good.
That's still probably the best offense in football.
Yeah. So, I mean, it definitely can be done. The only difference for me in here is, for me, the Chiefs, Niners, and Bills especially, we've seen this for multiple years now, and there hasn't been a ton of, this isn't a huge surprise. The Texans, while this is really their first, big time year with massive expectations, they've added a lot of talent to that roster to go along with a superstar in the making at quarterback.
Every draft pick they've hit on in the past year or two. And not only have they hit on, they drafted a quarterback. Normally rookie quarterbacks are not great. CJ Stroud is an exception. That dude looked phenomenal his rookie year. Unlike Bryce Young, who just got benched for an 87-year-old redheaded Andy Dalton. If you get benched by a ginger, you have an issue. Sorry.
I was trying to think of a good one, and
there it was. Most rookie quarterbacks don't do very well.
And that's
he's just absolutely an exception.
Yeah, and getting to walk into a pretty good situation has helped, but
yeah. So, my 5th team is. It's tough for me. I'm going to change this. I had the 49ers. I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals.
No shot.
Just for the first, because if we're just doing this for the first 2 weeks of the season.
That's not what a power ranking is. The eye test matters.
I think the Cardinals have passed the eye test.
Blowing a 20-point game in Buffalo.
But everyone expected the Cardinals to be a little bit better. No one expected the Cardinals to look this good.
I will say that's absolutely going to come down to the jump Kyler may have made. Because coming off the ACL, whatever it was, halfway into last year, whatever, like, first few games were pretty rough, but he finished the season on an absolute heater, and it looks like that's maybe carrying over a little bit.
Yep.
And you could definitely see this team take a leap if that's for real.
For the first 2 weeks of the season for power, the Niners, obviously, when fully healthy and firing on all cylinders, are number 1 and number 2. Right now, they're a little banged up. I haven't loved the way their offense has looked for the first 2 weeks. Week 1, they looked pretty good. Week 2, Brock Purdy turned into a pumpkin. But the sole reason I'm changing this to the Cardinals is because both of the Cardinals games that I've watched and I've seen, they look good. I did not expect them to walk into Buffalo and somehow that be a competitive game. They put up 28 points, and yes, they did they did choke it away due to Josh Allen being literal a superhero. But the week after, they played the Rams. Granted, I know they lost Puka, but the Rams their defense is suspect, and their O-line looked rough passing-wise. Running-wise, it looked okay. But you still going into a game versus Matthew Stafford and the Rams, who are an extremely well-coached football team with a healthy Cooper Kupp, I know they lost him later on, but beat the damn brakes off that team. Didn't stand a chance. Marvin Harrison had 134 yards and like 4 receptions and 2 touchdowns in the first damn quarter. That game was over before it even started. I think the Cardinals look really good. Now, when the new Call of Duty comes out, they're probably going to plummet to about 30 because Kyler's going to be too busy. But
move on.
But I think through the first 2 weeks, the Cardinals are the 5th best team in football. That or the Niners. It's flip-flopping for me, but I've liked what I've seen more out of the Cardinals than I have the Niners so far.
All right, let's get into the games. So I will say, I don't know if any teams in your top 5 are playing each other, but if you pick the lower team in your top 5 to beat the one you have ranked higher, you're an idiot. Moving on.
That's fair.
First game, big time game in Cleveland this weekend. We have the New York Giants traveling to Cleveland for an absolute shit fest at 1:00 on Sunday.
So this is what I like to call your typical trap game. I don't really give a shit who wins this game, to be completely honest with you. But I watched Cleveland and Dallas play week 1, and I think Cleveland looked terrible. I think Deshaun Watson is a borderline, barely a top 20, 25 quarterback at this point. They're without Nick Chubb. Amari Cooper might be getting 10 targets a game, but he's only catching about 2 or 3 of them, which, again, that's a huge problem if your best player's getting targeted so much and he only comes away with 2 or 3 catches. Their defense doesn't look that good. Both these teams just blow dick. And I know the Giants are favored to lose. I see a potential for the Giants get their first win here this week.
I thought I was going to be the surprise picker picking the Giants, but I guess not. I guess we're both on the same wagon.
In that parlay where I chose every single team, I took the Giants at +6 or 6.5. So
I mean, look,
after making history last week, by the way,
Daniel Jones is by no means a good quarterback either, and I don't have any faith really in either of them.
Nope.
But
nope.
Deshaun Watson, you can be bad, but we're talking about turnovers, picks, fumble, just stupid shit. And not that Daniel Jones doesn't do it.
Because he does.
I think Daniel Jones will do it one less time in this game, and that'll be the difference.
I mean, watching Deshaun Watson hold on to the fucking football for 10 seconds every time the ball is snapped just grinds my gears. It pisses me off.
I will say, this game's at 1:00. Cowboys, Ravens at 4. If the Browns lose this game to the Giants, my concerns for Dallas go way up. Because the hype after that week 1 win is completely false. I mean, if they lose to the Giants at home.
It was already kind of gone after the Saints game.
It was, but at least you could tell yourself, like you said earlier, well, Dallas has their shit game once a month, and that was just it.
And that was it.
Not that that's a good thing, but moving on to the next game. The next game you have Bears at the Colts. Bears are a slight dog.
This is a tough one. I feel like this is a fully firing Colts team blows out this Bears team. The problem is neither one of these teams have looked necessarily that good so far. Granted, I think the Colts are probably exponentially better than the Bears at this point. But you basically, this is 2 rookie quarterbacks, let's be honest. Anthony Richardson's only played like 4 games. Just Caleb Williams is already on his 3rd. This is basically 2 rookie quarterbacks going at it. I have hated what I've seen from the Bears, and I don't think it's all Caleb Williams' fault. I think their head coach and their offensive coordinator are dog shit at their job. But I think the Colts probably win this game, and I think they do it pretty handily. I don't think this is as close as the line suggests it will be.
I'm going to disagree.
Really? Wow, that shocked me.
Not that I feel great about it by any means. And like from a prospect standpoint and talent perspective, like Anthony Richardson, you watch the game highlights and you're like, this dude is the best quarterback in the NFL. And then you really look at it and he completed 8 passes in the game. And it's
one Bears, of them was the best pass you've ever seen in your life.
Right. And I think that's where I'm going with this is like, I think the Bears have a borderline elite defense.
Oh, for sure.
That if they just limit the big plays, I don't think Anthony Richardson can actually sustain drives and go down and put the ball in the end zone.
You have to remember they get Josh Downs back this week, though. They get their slot guy back.
I do not give a damn. Like, can he complete the pass? I know he can hit Alex Pierce 80 yards down the field once a game. But, like, I mean, that's my concern. On the Bears side, or on the offensive side of the ball, the Colts have not exactly done great things on defense.
No.
They just got rather torched the past 2 weeks. And I don't think the Bears are going to do that by any means, to say. And I completely agree with Zach. The head coach is a buffoon. I mean, play calling's terrible.
Dude's a moron.
It's terrible. The offensive line is
bad.
It's shocker, right? All the issues Justin Fields had are still there. Now, granted, there's some better weapons. Keenan Allen is still hurt.
I don't think he's playing. I think he's out this week.
Yeah, I figured. But Caleb Williams in the first half against the Texans showed you a little bit of maturity from the week before. And it might not show up in the box score, but there wasn't the bullshit running around, the throwing up Hail Mary across the fields that get picked like he ended up doing in the second half.
Yeah.
But I think he showed you enough to where you could believe, another week he can limit those a little bit more and be just good enough to keep the defense on the field. And I mean, I guess you don't want the Bears defense on the field all day, but give the defense a chance. If the Bears punt, that's fine. Let your defense have some room to work. It's the picks that end up to short fields, and that gives Anthony Richardson like the massive swing advantage.
Yeah, like you can be the best defense in the world. Like New England has a damn good defense, and I don't think anyone really disagrees with that. The problem is when your offense goes 3 and out 18 times during the game, your defense is gonna get gassed, and they're gonna get beat no matter how good you are. So,
and even looking at this game, like I picked the Bears to win a close game. But in no world do I see the Bears blowing out the Colts, and I could see the Colts blowing out the Bears.
Yep, that's how I feel. If the Bears win, it'll be close. If the Colts, not saying if the Colts win, it's going to be a blowout, but I could also see the Colts putting up 30, 40 points, and the Bears putting up like high teens, low 20s, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Moving to the next game, this line kind of, I don't want to say massively surprises me. But you have the Texans going to Minnesota, coming off the win against the 49ers. Texans are favored by 1.5.
I saw this. Another team that's in the top 10 power rankings, by the way, is the Minnesota Vikings. Kevin O'Connell is one of the best head coaches in the NFL, and you cannot convince me otherwise. That's besides the point. Justin Jefferson is playing. Apparently his quad's fine. So
I figured that was just a bruise type injury.
Aaron Jones is fine. This game is either going to be a blowout or a very close game. And it all depends on how Sam Darnold plays. He's looked really good the first 2 weeks, I will say that. Do I think he keeps it up the whole season? Likely, probably not. But I think the Texans win this game pretty handily. I'm Texans probably by like between 7 and 10 points is my prediction here.
I was gonna say I think the Texans is like the team I have most confidence in that has not really showed up on like the scoreboard. Like
yeah,
with narrow margins of victory. So with that being said, I'm gonna pick the Texans. I do not see a blowout by any means, honestly.
I don't either.
Just with the Texans they haven't put it together yet, and the Vikings they looked phenomenal last weekend. I will say, small, interesting matchup. You have Stingley from the Texans playing corner, going up against Justin Jefferson, a big-time matchup between LSU teammates on the great team back in the day. So that's probably a spot where the game will be decided. So fun watch.
Absolutely. This is probably close to the game of the week, if not the game of the week.
Yes. There's a couple, but that's definitely an entertaining game. That's a game where the Vikings go and win that, and you're talking about them flying up into top 3 case scenario, if not higher. And then if the Vikings lose, you're kind of like, last week was kind of a fluke against the Niners. They're hurt.
Well, they embarrassed I forgot who they played week 1, but they embarrassed. Oh, the Giants. That's right. I mean, it's the Giants.
Right.
But so they embarrassed the Giants.
Back into a middle of the pack team. Moving on. Another interesting matchup. You get the Eagles versus the Saints in New Orleans. Saints favored by 2.5. And have to lay some juice to take the 2.5.
I don't understand this line at all.
Which way?
I don't understand how the Eagles aren't favored. In all honesty. I have the Saints at 4 in my power rankings.
You're going to do it, aren't you? What I said.
You're going to do it. 100% going to do it. Because I even said I don't think the Saints keep this up to the level that they've been playing at. And did the Eagles absolutely choke on Monday night? Absolutely. They blew that game. Kirk Cousins gave us the most unvintage Kirk Cousins moment where he won a primetime game, and not only that, he had a game-winning drive to do it. Kirk Cousins has been a notorious, terrible quarterback during primetime. And all of a sudden, Darnell Mooney is catching 70 yards during that drive and scoring a touchdown to win the game. But the reason I think the Eagles win this game is the pure talent. The pure talent. And I think this would probably be a very high-scoring game. I'm thinking probably 27-24, 31-27, somewhere in that ballpark. But I do think the Eagles win this game, but it's close.
I'm going Saints. And I think it's an easy pick for me.
Really? Okay.
You think Dallas can't stop the run? Dallas gives up 4.7 or something yards per carry. Philly's giving up over 6.
Yeah.
That defensive line, as much hype as Jalen Carter gets, he has not gotten pressure on the quarterback in the past 2 games. And
that's not why you drafted Jalen Carter, though. You drafted him because he's... no, who am I thinking of? It's not Jalen Carter. It's the
Jordan
other one.
Davis.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
He can't stop the run. That's why they did draft him. He's not doing it. I'm mean, you're talking about a team that can't get pressure and can't stop the run.
Yeah.
And a secondary that, yes, they just took a guy in the first round, but it is still not a good secondary. This looks like the same defense from last year that couldn't stop a nosebleed in the second half of the season. And the Saints blow Philly out of the water in that. I mean, I heard the Saints offensive line was iffy going against Dallas, and they were whipping ass all day. And there's no other way to put it. And apparently the Eagles defensive line is worse.
Yeah.
So and then on the offensive side, like, I do think Philly can have some success. I don't think the Saints have a good defense, but it's not elite or unstoppable by any means.
No.
But I'm just going to take the team that can run the ball and the team that can stop the run.
Yeah. I think this game is where we start to see the Saints are not unstoppable like they've looked for the first 2 weeks. I think they come back down to earth a little bit this game.
I keep telling myself that, but if Philadelphia can't stop the run,
Kamara's going to have a field day.
It's going to be a long day, because then they're going to hit the play action and the screen game off of it, just like they did Dallas. I could see it. I don't think they'd lose by any means as bad as Dallas, but I could see it being a similar game script type game.
Derek Carr attempts maybe 18 passes, completes like 13 of them, but he has like 4 touchdowns on like 180 yards.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on. That's definitely another big-time game, and will massively swing the way I look at Dallas. If Philly comes out and kicks the Saints' ass, and I don't believe in Dallas to begin with. I try not to, but I need that final nail in the coffin to remove my hope.
Yeah.
Moving on. Interesting game. You have the Chargers going all the way to the East Coast to play at Pittsburgh. The Chargers are +3.
I actually think a lot of the underdogs win this week. I don't get, after how well the Chargers have played and how iffy the Steelers have played, how anyone could think that the Chargers lose this game. That being said, I'm going to say that, and they're going to get fucking demolished. However, I think the Chargers win this game. It's all depending on how well they run the ball, but even if they can't run the ball that well, you still got motherfucking Justin Herbert throwing the ball. I don't really have any issues with that. Their weapons aren't the greatest. They have Ladd. They have Palmer. Quentin Johnston, breakout season. Picked him up in fantasy, by the way. I think the Chargers win this game. And it'll be a close game because none of these teams are going to put up 30, 40 points. But I think the Chargers win this game. And I don't understand. I would understand it if the Chargers were favored by 3 and the Steelers were not favored by 3. Then I would understand it.
When I was looking at this game, I think this was my biggest I'm not quite sure game of the weekend. Just because, I mean, you're talking about two teams now that are playing similar styles of just ram the ball down your throat. Both play with physicality.
I just think the Chargers are doing it better right now.
And the thing that's they beat the Raiders, which I don't believe in. Sorry.
No. Good defense, decent defense, but
and the Panthers. So I'm unimpressed. And normally in these games, I go with the better quarterback, which is clearly Justin Herbert. I'm going to take the Steelers, and I'm not exactly sure why. And it may be just because TJ Watt has a Falcons-esque game where he wins the game by himself.
Yeah.
Single-handedly. And, I mean, that would be the reason I would take it. Along with, I wouldn't know, they say the West to East Coast trip is terrible. If you put any value to that.
Yeah. I don't know. But I see how the Steelers can win this game. It's going to be by running the ball and kicking 6 field goals again.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the first time that it looks like Herbert has a solid, well-coached team around him. Mm-hmm. And I think he'll take advantage of that.
It's a similar situation as we said with Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Allow the quarterbacks to take off the superhero cape.
And when they need to put that shit back on, they can.
They can. Yep. Moving on to the next game. I'm not sure we need to talk about this one very much. It's Denver Broncos at Tampa Bay. Tampa's favored 6.5.
Tampa Bay by 1 million.
Yeah, that one's slightly surprising to me, especially like Tampa's defense has been banged up, but it's been a pretty good defense the past few years.
They just held Detroit to 17 points. One of the best offensive in all of football.
With, I think, at least one of their starting corners out, if not both of them. I mean, that's a big-time win. And then
shout out Todd Bowles. Shout out Todd Bowles.
You got a rookie quarterback going on the road.
Who has not looked good regardless.
And he has no weapons. I don't see that one. Moving on to another interesting game. Green Bay Packers plus 2.5 at the Tennessee Titans. It does sound like there's a good chance Jordan Love plays this weekend, which definitely could swing your choice.
That line is solely dependent on if Jordan Love plays.
Yes. And I'll agree. And I think I'm such a believer in this Tennessee Titans defense.
Mm-hmm.
But with Will Levis, like I think the coach came out and said they'd be better off if they just punted than him throwing the football, and he might not be wrong.
He's not.
It is unbelievable, some of the turnovers, and until I see that stop, I'm not gonna pick the Titans, especially if there's a chance in hell Jordan Love plays.
Just stupid turnovers, like so bad. Yeah, I have the Titans defense is legit. The Titans offense is laughably bad. Give me the Packers here, even if Jordan Love doesn't play.
I will say the Titans offensive coordinator is notoriously known for putting together teams that can very much run the football. And the Green Bay Packers could not stop the run last week. So that's the only chance the Titans have. I don't see it.
I don't either.
Moving on. I feel like there's a lot of games this weekend that teams you just don't see play that often.
No.
But like another one, we have Carolina Panthers plus 6.5 at the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll take the Raiders and the points.
Yeah. Even if you catch Matthew Stafford on his worst day,
Stafford.
You said Rams, didn't you?
Raiders. Sorry. If I did.
Shit.
I don't know what I said.
My fault. That's my bad.
So you're picking the Panthers now?
No, I'm absolutely taking the Raiders. Their defense alone wins it. Their defense probably scores more points than the Panthers' offense.
Probably. I don't think there's much to say about that.
No.
Without getting into the Bryce Young whole organizational situation.
That's a shit show. No one watched that game.
Moving on. Dolphins plus 4.5 at the Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks, easy.
Yeah. I mean, backup quarterback, it's a good defense on the road. Doesn't sound like a good recipe. Even though the Dolphins have the weapons, don't like it.
Nope. That's Seahawks to the moon, baby.
This is another. There's some good games this weekend, especially in this 4:00 slate. Next one, you get the Detroit Lions at your Arizona Cardinals.
This is the offensive game of the week. Let me say that.
Total's at 51.5, which is high.
This is going to be, if I had to guess, by far the highest. Every game the Cardinals have played in this year has been a high-scoring game. Whether they're the ones dropping 50 and the Rams are dropping 7, or the Bills are dropping 30 and the Cardinals are dropping high 20s. This is going to be a high-scoring game. This is going to be some fun football to watch. The Lions have not fully meshed on defense yet. I think, what's the spread?
It is Lions are favorite by 3.
Oh, God. This is one of those games where it is so hard to pick a team.
I'll just go ahead and out and say it. I'm going to pick the Lions to win. Would not take the points. That's for sure. I think their defense might be just a little bit better.
Yeah. That's all I got. It's damn close. Oh my God, this is actually very hard for me to pick. What did I pick? Hold on. I need to see what I picked. I'm pretty sure I picked the Cardinals, but I also took them spread. So I'm not 100% confident. I lied. I took the Lions money line. So
yeah,
this game hurts because I do have the Cardinals as the 5th ranked team, but the matchup that honestly their first 3 games are like probably some of the 3 hardest in football. The Rams wasn't that bad because of all the injuries, but like Bills, supposedly healthy Rams, and then Detroit, like they're starting off a ruthless schedule. I do think the Lions like barely scrape by though.
Ooh. Okay. Next game. The game of the week. The Baltimore Ravens favored by 1.5 at, sadly, my Dallas Cowboys.
Well, if
I'll go first. Ravens.
Yep, your team.
Dallas can't stop the run. Ravens are the best team at running the ball. Hold on. Dallas can't stop the run. The Ravens are the best team at running the ball every year. Dallas' secondary didn't look great last weekend either. I mean, I will say I could see this being a higher scoring game. The Ravens secondary is also garbage. Marlon Humphrey has been doo-doo the past 2 weeks, coming off a pretty serious injury. So
yeah,
I could see it being maybe high scoring, but I have the Ravens and not particularly close.
If you heard any part of my Lamar and Ravens rant, Cowboys by 1 million.
Enough said. I picked this Dallas to beat the Saints last week, so there we go. Moving on.
We both did. Didn't see another 40-pointer coming, to be honest with you.
Next game. 49ers are 6.5-point favorites at the Rams. I've got the Niners. Both teams are banged up to all get out.
Yeah. We agree there.
If both teams were fully healthy, that's always a fun matchup.
I still go Niners.
Yeah, I would lean Niners, but it gets a lot less interesting with half of both offenses out.
Yeah.
Moving on. Another game you don't see often. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Atlanta Falcons for Sunday Night Football. Chiefs are favored by 3.
That line is atrocious. Chiefs are going to win by at least 7 to 10 points.
Yeah, I've got the Chiefs.
You're putting Mahomes in a dome? And you think something good is going to come out of that? No.
I am excited to watch it as a Bijan fan. That's it. Moving on. Monday.
We on this podcast are Bijan supporters, let me tell you.
He's a freak. Moving on. Monday, you get the classic, happens every week, double Monday Night Football games.
So fucking stupid.
Anyways, so at 7:30, Jacksonville Jaguars plus 4.5 at the Buffalo Bills.
I'm not taking the points. I am taking the Bills.
I'm taking the Bills and the points. The Jags haven't been able to do shit on offense all year, and I don't see that changing going to Buffalo.
There might be a podcast point next week discussing a a very long-haired, Prince Charming-looking individual.
That may have been aired as the greatest quarterback prospect of all time, which I agreed with.
And he's now 0-7 in his last 7 games. So that will definitely, totally, possibly be happening.
Can the thumbnail just be Riley humping me?
Oh, I do. I see the little body movement.
She holds on, like she grabs on.
That's just what dogs do, though.
Sit down.
Baxter used to do that when he had balls.
She got like 2 weeks, and then she won't have. Moving on.
Last game of the week.
Yep. For the final game of the week, the I guess I can say big time. It's the 8:15 Monday night game, so in the normal slot. The Washington Commanders are plus 7.5 at the Cincinnati Bengals.
Definitely don't give me the points on this, because this is a trap. This has a trap game written all over it. But the Bengals are going to win this game. If they don't, we have to have a serious conversation.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. Could be a Jane Daniels coming out party on Monday Night Football.
He's gay?
That's crazy.
Sorry, I had to throw it in there.
Jane Daniels' athletic abilities might be coming out on Monday Night Football, to clarify.
for further clarification.
Yes, for further clarification.
Fact check.
These teams could not be more out of each other's realm.
No, it's weird. This is a weird game.
And it almost seems like Washington's trying to turn it around, and Cincinnati's like fucking around and trying to find out with turning it around in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
I'm going to go kill myself.
I'll cut that.
You don't have to. No, yes, definitely do. That's everything.
The Bengals always start slow. Not only are they going to start slow this season, it's going to be...
Sorry.
We're gonna cut that part too.
I just got assaulted.
You did.
In the butt.
Like, oh, here it comes again.
She starts breathing heavy. Sit. This is not rewarding you for doing that.
You know, that's weird because she's a female. Why is she doing that?
Everyone says that, and they do it too. I don't know. It's just known as.
It's just weird. It's the other way around. Normally. Oh, she calmed down enough to finish this talking point?
Yeah.
Okay. The Bengals always start slow. It's a known fact. Ever since I got Burrow, they start slow. They eventually pick it up and end up looking like one of the best offenses in football. So it's week 3. Maybe it's starting the time they pick it up a little bit. Actually, they picked it up a decent amount last week versus the Chiefs, but they always play the Chiefs well. But without T. Higgins even practicing, if they can get Jamar Chase the ball, I think this is a relatively easy win for the Bengals.
Should be. Just as easy as Riley to get off to me. Hands on your knees. Sorry. You can wrap it up.
Do you want to add anything to that?
Dude, I ain't got shit to say about Washington, Cincinnati. On Monday Night Football, who did that schedule? All the games we went through, we're like, this is a damn good game. This is a damn good game. I'm excited to watch. It wasn't Washington, Cincinnati. It wasn't that. That'll be all, folks, for the We Are podcast. The dog has decided it's time to wrap it up. So we're going to wrap it up. But I know it's called the We Know Best podcast. When we check back next week at these picks, we might be making a name change.
Even if we're wrong, we still know fucking best. It's what we do. It's who we are.
Teams just didn't show up.
And
refs sucked.
See you fuckers next week.
Boy.